Hi everyone, this video is about the ModMedusa and about what you can use clocked LFOs for in a Eurorack system. Let's check out a quick preview. So the ModMedusa is a clockable LFO that spaces out its LFO cycles algorithmically. If you provide the ModMedusa with a clock and set up its length, density and shift parameters, you'll get various beat-synced LFO patterns, as you can see here. The ModMedusa comes with 8 algorithms that create a wide range of rhythmic patterns, such as various shapes of Euclidean, accelerating or decelerating LFOs, which you can further fine-tune by changing the wave shape or the symmetry, length or density of the pattern. So I'd really like to use clocked LFOs to shape the volume curve of my percussive elements. So in this example here, the 4 outputs of the ModMedusa control the volume of 4 different percussive elements that are all generated from the T-Noiseworks by ADAC systems. So all 4 percussive elements will hit every 16th note, which is not very musical. But I'm using the ModMedusa to change the volume so they fit better together. So in this example, you'll see that I use the shape, symmetry, density and length knobs to change how the VCAs behave. And I'm using the mode button to change the patterns of the 2nd to 4th LFO as well. Let's bring in a second voice and see how they interact with each other. And what you will notice is that by changing the mode, we will drastically change how the percussion on channel 2 to 4 will behave, as you can see here. And just by messing around with the controls, you can hear that we can get drastically different patterns. Alright, so let's apply these ideas to a techno patch. And you hear by just messing around with the controls on the front panel, we get drastically different rhythms, even though the percussive elements are still triggered every 16th notes. You can also use the ModMedusa to control multiple synthesis parameters of a bassline. So for example here, channel 1 and 3 are controlling the filter cutoff and the volume of a subtractive bassline patch. And so I've set up the ModMedusa that LFO 1 and 3 are oftentimes playing the same patterns, but they will deviate ever so slightly occasionally. So that gives me a bit more of an interesting pattern for my bassline to work with. I particularly like to use the ModMedusa on percussive elements. So in this case here, I'm using all 4 LFOs of the ModMedusa to change the tuning, effect parameter, length and filter of the Archer's Rig hi-hat. You can also use the ModMedusa on individual channels of a stereo track. So in this case here, I'm using the ModMedusa in quadrature mode. This is when all the LFOs have roughly the same length but are just spaced differently, to control the cutoff of 4 different bandpass filters in parallel, to left and to right. This is similar to the previous example, only now the two filters on the left and right side are put into series with a high-pass filter following a low-pass filter. So the ModMedusa is controlling basically the width of the resulting bandpass filter to give us these moody, beat-synced pads. In this example, I have a Stolper beat driving a kick drum, a cowbell, a snare, and another percussive elements with its pre-made patterns. And I'm using the ModMedusa to change all of these 4 different patterns on the fly. Each output of the ModMedusa is changing a different pattern. And by messing around with the parameters, I get a lot of different ideas really quickly on how to combine different percussive patterns. You can also use the ModMedusa to create quick, repeatable melodic ideas. So in this patch here, I've connected the ModMedusa to the Bard Quartet to convert one of the clocked LFOs into an actual melody. I'm using another LFO to change between the pre-made scales that I've already programmed into the Bard Quartet. My subtractive synthesizer voice is built up of an oscillator, a filter, and a VCA, and I'm using Pamela's new workout to clock the ModMedusa and also to trigger a quad-G envelope generator to close the filter and the VCA. The setup is a really quick way to mess around with melodic ideas that you can then further refine in a DAW or elsewhere. The ModMedusa makes it especially easy to change these generated LFO patterns on the fly, making it great for generating new ideas that you can then fine-tune later in a DAW or in the Eurorack system. Really, just try it on anything that benefits from this kind of repeatable change. Try it on VCAs, filters, pattern or effect generators. Alright, that's all I have for you today. Thanks everyone for watching. If you find the content helpful, consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next video.